I'm McHaven, also known as Micaiah. Kind of for the end of the year, I thought since I was doing some videos, I thought I would put out a video on the Steam Awards game for 2018. I thought this would be really cool. So let's look at some of the categories. We've got Game of the Year, VR Game of the Year, Labor of Love, Best Developer, Best Environment, Better with Friends, Best Alternative History, and Most Fun with a Machine. Let's get started. So, most fun with a machine for 2018. Whether it's a car, truck, robot, or other mechanized, mechanized, whew, contraption, the winner of this award fired on all cylinders, engineering an unforgettable gameplay experience made possible by machines. In this category, we have Euro Truck Simulator, Rocket League, Near Automatia, Factorio, and Space Engineers. Drumroll, please. Well, let's not get to that yet. We have some runner-ups. The Euro Truck Simulator. My brother really loves this game, and I've picked up a couple of them and tried them. The idea of picking up a vehicle, earning some cash, is one thing. Space Engineers is also an honorable mention, of course, with Medieval Engineer. I don't know if that's considered with a machine. Was great. I've One of my other friends has over 500 hours into the game, but and my brother, who likes Euro Truck Simulator, so maybe he'd be torn. Loves this game as well. However, we went with Factorio. I think Factorio is an amazing game. I first saw this about 2 years ago. It was a long time ago with Direwolf and actually, what's that kid's name? Well, he's not really a kid, but yeah. So there it is, Factorio. It's pretty awesome. We actually might see some content here. They're coming up with a new update pretty soon, so we might be playing that again. So, for the 2018 Best Alternative History, those who cannot remember the past are doomed to repeat it. One of my favorite quotes. Those who remember it just fine, but for her to reinvent it are doomed to get this award for the 2018's most entertaining tinkering with the history books. Wow, this was actually kind of somewhat tough. Not really, but it was somewhat tough. Wolfenstein. Oh man, Wolfenstein's kind of the special mention. It was one of my first Castle Wolfenstein, and then the mod for that. We used to be, in college was my most like awesome. And I think it's just when it's sort of gameplay at its core, without the blood and violence and craziness. And even though it does deal with some Nazis, it was sort of felt like more Germans in the mod. Uh, Enemy Territory, I think it's called. Yeah. Yeah, but the new Wolfenstein and Wolfenstein 2 are not like this. They are very visceral, bloody, not for me combats. Assassin's Creed is actually, is this the one? No, this is the Greek version, but the Egyptian version had like like you could walk around in Egypt. Again, it's just I actually started with Assassin's Creed, the first one, and it felt like a cool game. Minus the assassinations, thievery, robbery, and all the other things that made it. For an exploration type of game, I think that could have been cool. But they went with a little bit different take. Fallout, we might see some Fallout Bethesda, the developer, might see some very disappointing. I actually purchased, I think, Fallout 4. My friend, a different friend, was really into it, and I really picked it up, and it just wasn't. I think I played. Yeah, it was Fallout 3. I actually played quite a bit. I never actually completed the whole story. Mm, and and this one, I think I picked it up. No, this one I actually didn't pick up. Yeah, it was Fallout 3. Yeah, the reason why I didn't pick up Fallout 4 was because I got through about 20% of Fallout 3, and it wasn't really that exciting. I should mention it was really fun to watch Rorax go through some of this, but I didn't really keep up with it. And now that we have Fallout Online, Civilization 6 is probably the most six, um, probably the most interesting runner-up. I haven't actually picked up this game as well. Or maybe I actually do. Yeah, I think I actually. No, I have five. Maybe I have about six. I'm not sure. Anyways, it's sort of the same thing. These sort of words. I think these games are cool, but they're sort of. They're not really like for the price. I think it's. What is this? Nah. Mixed. Mostly positive. Mostly positive. Mostly positive. Oh, was that very positive? Oh yeah, I think this one could take it. Odyssey. But we went with Hearts of Iron, which is actually ironic because we don't actually own it. But watching Quill, I've seen three or four Quills, and you might note a trend with Paradox throughout the game. But anyways, he's really quite exciting to see the history, especially when you play. They have a new mode where they have completely non-historical playthroughs, so they can do anything they want. The game seems sort of interesting, but it's just I haven't picked it up. One of my other friends did pick it up, seemed to somewhat enjoy it, but I just never really. It's kind of one of those, I talked about Paradox and trying to get into their games. Anyway, so the best alternative history, Hearts of Iron 4. And continuing on, Better with Friends for 2018. There are some games out there that just aren't the same when you play by yourself. Playing by yourself is the only way to play. But maybe you need to have a friend to watch your back. I am looking for a friend, so hopefully, maybe you need to have a friend that you can stab in the back. Either way, mirth is awaiting those who gather friends to play these games. Wow, what was that? There's some footage in here that looked exactly like Left 4 Dead. Yeah. Anyway, so we've got Payday 2. It's actually pretty interesting because there's a programming for Athos. He has a sort of a Payday-like game. We've got Dead by Deadlight. Dead by Daylight. Obviously, I know these games quite well. Rainbow Six Siege. And Counter-Strike Global Offensive. That actually just went free to play. Side note. We have Overcooked 2. Payday. My couple of my buddies really tried to get me into playing this game, and I think I played the demo. Yeah, I played the demo, and it's just a Payday, and it just wasn't really. I like the idea. I was talking about enemy territory from Castle Wolfenstein. It was a mod for the. It was a mod for a different game. Anyway, for that type of game. Anyways, yeah, it just doesn't really feel like. I don't remember Dead. I'm not really into zombie. I'm into apocalyptic games. Apocalyptics. I can't say it, but Rainbow Siege is actually interesting. It's a pretty. Some of the original games are a little bit more cool. It's sort of like the first kind of tactical, kind of the real tactical start. But yeah, and then Counter Strike is actually really the original Counter Strike I played with a buddy of mine who's college buddy. I guess you should call him because I have a lot of buddies that I don't really get to play with anymore. Anyway, so we played. He's pretty insane at Counter Strike. In fact, there's a banned weapon in this game. Funny story. So like I can't play these games anymore. But this weapon, it's the Commando. It's a semi-automatic sniper rifle, and it's banned in every single match in this game because it's considered OP and broken. But it's the one gun that I can actually use. So I was doing a death match with a friend, and she had me like 25-2 or something like that. And I'm like, cool. Okay, let me use the Commando. And she's like, no, that gun's banned. And I'm like, yeah, just for a kick, for giggles. So I took the gun and I won the next 5 or 10 matches. And she's like, that's unfair. And I'm like, that's why it's banned. And I'm like, no, it just helps me do the thing. But yeah, we decided to go for Overcooked, not because it's the last, but and it's funny, another game I don't own, but Quill 18 and Briarstone. I don't remember if they did it with A Kiss for Luck, but they actually did a couple of these things, and this game is like, it seems like, I'm not sure of the single player fun of it, but the multiplayer fun and just the it's actually really interesting because it's like it's a Unity sort of centric game where it's like you're on one scene, like this little kitchen, and the sometimes it's moving around. Like the food truck is like really original. Anyways, I voted for that one. This is the website, and that's why I voted for the through the Steam app. But anyway, so this is the one I went for, Overcooked 2, just because it just seemed really fun to play, to watch other people. It's ironic, but that's having watched a bunch of people play that. Well, Quill 18 and Briarstone, and I don't remember if Kiss Were Like was in there, but that was just really fun to watch them play and the shenanigans and mess ups and stuff like that. Anyways, the best environment for 2018. All those clearly, all these, well, good thing it's not the best words. All those chatty cutscenes, all those reminders that they need a health pack again. Red Warrior needs food badly. Let's face it, characters are overrated. As this winter illustrates, sometimes breathtaking scenery tells a better story than thousand big mouth heroes. Oh, you're a man of few words, huh? Dark Souls 3. Let's go from this way. I don't know, just because. Dark Souls it's another Athos inspired. This is I believe the Souls series. Athos is a programmer at YouTube that I watch and support, and it's pretty awesome, and it's really helped me. But he's working on a Souls-like, and I just have never got into the Souls. I like the idea, but they just seem a little bit, gritty and dark is not to use the words, but yeah, it did look actually pretty cool. Some of the few environments I saw a few playthroughs on it, but I just never really stick with it. Far Cry actually, I haven't played Far Cry 5, but some of the original Far Cries were actually pretty stunning environments for kind of what they were. But I haven't really seen Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but the new remake was cool. But to me, it's just like, I don't know if the Angela Jolie Tomb Raider or the new Tomb Raider. It's sort of lost its luster on me. Plus, I'm not really good with puzzle jumping games. Subnautica, it's actually pretty amazing for the environments, and it's just really cool to see some of the. It's just it's not really been done that well. I think the intro to Bioshock Infinite, I think it is, or no, the one before that, yeah, Bioshock 2 or something. Yeah, it had a Bioshock 2.5 or whatever, had you going into a underwater base, but it was like, oh, and Big Daddy had you go outside of the base, which is cool too. And you would think The Witcher from CD Projekt Red, which is pretty, this game seems, is it The Witcher or there's another type of game? I think it's The Witcher. Like this open world RPG aspects of it seem really cool, but The Witcher is like, nah. Now they got Gwent, and so you'd think it would be The Witcher, Wild Hunt, and CD Projekt Red, which I think are just partly because of how bad EA and Bethesda and all the other game companies are. That CD Projekt Red is actually doing pretty awesome. But I voted for Subnautica. It just was I've not another game I don't own. Well, actually I do own it now because it was free on the I haven't played it yet, but anyways, it's just the environments, and it's kind of like World of Warcraft did an underwater zone, and it looked nothing like this. It was horrible, frustrating, and so hopefully they did a pretty good job of having it sort of feel like you're underwater, but not feeling like you're actually swimming, because swimming's not cool. Anyways, I'm kind of looking forward to it. This is a crafting sort of exploration game, but who knows. Okay, let's moving on. Now, speaking of the best developer, the best developer, whether it is for 2018, whether it's by listening to their fans. Ha! That's sort of setting the bar a little bit hard there, Steam. Creating something genuinely unexpected or just dwelling on the promise of a truly great game. Genuinely unexpected should be a hint, but excuse me. This studio absolutely crushed it in 2018. There's a lot of games to go over. Let's go through, I don't know. Up top right, Digital Extremes. I have no idea what these people make. Can we get some ideas of what they make here? No, of course. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, so we've got Gwent. Yeah, talked about that a little bit. Ubisoft. Yeah, it's like Assassin's Creed, maybe. Yeah. Oh, Kingdom Come Deliverance. Is that from them? Wow, I'm just going to be horrible at all these. Is there a Digital Extreme showcase here? I have no idea what they do. Well, yeah, I guess that rules them out. Sure, wait it. Yeah. Interesting. Oh yeah. What? No, that's Rockstar. Okay, people. Yes, we know who Rockstar is. Oh. Okay, well, yeah, I don't know. So, anyways, yeah, just guys ruled out based on not sure what they. I'm sure they do something, but anyways, Rockstar. They do have the new Red Dead. I'm not sure if that's still done by Rockstar. The original Red Dead was cool, but some of the Grand Theft Auto, as we saw there, it's just the open world's cool, but and then I don't know, they had some flip problems. Bethesda would almost have been like the number I think would have been the most popular, but they've recently with their Fallout Online and Fallout 76, I guess was the official name. It feels like they are just really tanking it. You know, and I watch a bunch of Hills versus Babyface, so that's probably not a good sign if you've been watching his recent videos. Ubisoft actually does seem kind of cool. I'm not into some of their recent games. No, not Assassin's. Yeah, Assassin's Creed, and some of that. CD Projekt Red. We talked about The Witcher a little bit. They actually seem like they really do. I think they could be just how cool that. Well, and again, Hills versus Babyface talking about. And part of it is too is like you look at a lot of these games and it's just like their monetization is just out of hand. And if you put out a decent product, and I even support DLCs, even though DLC was kind of the bad thing, but it's the DLCs are kind of getting out of hand. But if you keep the DLCs at like 5, 10, I think Stellaris, I'm gonna pick up Utopia I think for $10 for the Steam sale going on right now. So Square Enix. Anyway, so CD Projekt. I just I'm not really a big fan of The Witcher. I think I like the idea of the open world thing, but it feels too open world and not. It just gets kind of really gruesome and a lot of CD um, open world stuff that they do. So I mean, I think it's a great game overall, and I hope I hope they continue as a company, and it seems like it's really popular. Square Enix, big fan from long time ago. The original Final Fantasy. I've played Final Fantasy Online. I haven't seen them in quite a while. Is Enix? No, I don't remember what Enix does, but I don't know if they do the Dragon Warriors. Anyways, quite popular. But Capcom, I'm not sure what they've done in Pac-Man, Mega Man, but they just haven't really done a lot of crazy things. Plus, it's more console based. Paradox Interactive. Talked about this company a little bit. They have a ton of games. Stellaris. We talked about the um, Hearts of Iron 4. and Europe, and a lot of my friends love this game, including Coil 18. Um, we'll talk about them maybe in a little bit. Spoiler. Bandai Namco. I don't know, just another old console game that maybe they have some cool stuff. I'm not really sure. Klee is actually a something genuine unexpected. They were actually kind of on my top of the list here. Um, I see Project Red was number three, I'd say. Klee was number two. Klee actually came out with Oxygen Not Included. I really liked the Oxygen Not Included, the base game they first came out with. But as the game sort of progressed and it added more and more difficulty and they started messing with the flow of the game, it just really became like too complicated and it's just like you can't really do anything and it's just it's like it really. But I do like the idea of a oxygen sort of environment, um, where rooms filled with oxygen and that sort of a take on that is really cool. It's sort of an evolution, a sort of an upgrade, if you will, if you don't like evolution, an upgrade to Minecraft, where it's like you have a world that's interactive. It's in 2D side scrolling. You might see a demo on this at some point. I think it's still in early access, but yeah. So and they also do Don't Starve, I believe, was the original. But I really like. I've tried Don't Starve a couple times. I think I picked it up a couple times, but anyways, actually not included. May surprise you, but yep, I know. Paradox Interactive, number one. They do have a lot of Paradox is actually. It's probably partly because again CD Project Red for listening to Hill and some of the just the good vibes they've been sending out. Paradox is actually sending out really amazing vibes. Um, that they do have they. I think the only thing it's like to get into European Crusader Kings and stuff like that, and European Universal EU, I think, yeah. Oh, it's the frustrating thing to me is like just as an outsider, not really into these games as much. Like to buy Crusader Kings, it's like, and to buy Stellaris now is sort of the same way. It's like to buy all of Stellaris. Let's focus on Stellaris because that's the game I play the most. I think out of this company, and probably why not and partly through picking them, but to get into all of the Stellaris deal, to buy all of this DLC, especially at $20, which is I think pretty staggering. Considering the full game's like $40, it's like you're putting out five game, you know, putting out five DLCs at half the price of the original game. But games are getting up there in the $50-$60 range. That's it's like, so that's actually nice about Paradox is they're putting out a reasonably priced game. I'm not just looking for a key for Imperator Rome. No, but I'm not sure if Rome would be the type of game. That's their new type of. It seems like they need a lot of polish on it, but it's just it sounds cool. But I like some of the concepts they're doing. But yeah, it's just as So as far as I guess it's actually kind of Klee is the only indie-ish I'd say on this list, which is kind of sad. I will say though, so I do want to mention one off topic. It's like when YouTubers, um, there was a YouTube video a YouTuber put out, and they were like, Paradox had flown the YouTuber out to Gamescom or whatever they were at, and they were like, "Oh hey, I'm not being paid to say I like this game," and it's like, I think it was it was one of their games, and it's like they flew you out there and to go to this conference and paid for the hotel and the conference ticket and all this stuff, and you're trying to say I'm not getting paid by them, and it's like I think it's a problem with developers and the media and YouTube, and maybe I'm trying to get involved. I'm just trying to put videos out there for fun. Um, and I was kind of thinking about this year, semi-update video about making money with YouTube, but it's to me it's like one of those things like to get keys, like to buy Stellaris. it's like I didn't get that for free. I actually had to go out and pay money and pay for the DLC and pay for all this stuff myself. So when I say I think, well, there's a slight problem with Stellaris, but well, I don't know, yeah. Anyways, hopefully that content will get out there. But yeah, so game of the not game of the year, best developer, Paradox Interactive. Partly through winning the Alternative History Award for me. Um, the Crusader Kings seems really cool. Again, it's just some of their games are really awesome. I like their type of games they're putting out there, which is Imperator Rome is just another, which is weird because Imperator Rome was like an MMO or Imperator, which is I guess just a Roman terminology. Anyways, I went into the Labor of Love. Yes, the game has been out for a while. Huh. The team was well past the first unveiling of their creative baby, but being the good parents they are, these devs continue to mature and support their creation. This game is to this day is still getting new content after all these years. We've got Grand Theft Auto 5, No Man's Sky, Path of Exile, Dota 2, and Stardew Valley. I wonder which one's gonna win. Grand Theft Auto 5, yeah, I talked about this from Rockstar. The way they support their content is through massive microtransactions, like Grand Theft Auto, online. I don't know if that's considered the same as Grand Theft Auto, but, and just the type of gameplay is just not for me. It's a labor of violence and blood and all sorts of, hey, I don't mind smacking people around and, you know, portraying something sometimes, but yeah, No Man's Sky. Yeah, my brother told me not to buy this game. He was like, and told all his coworkers not to buy the game at $59.99 or $59.99, and it was like I was like, no, man, this game is supposed to be super awesome. It's like the Spore, where it's like you get to all the worlds are completely random and unique and really awesome. And he's like, but he's like, well, what are you gonna do? And and it gets really boring. And trust me, it's not cool. And I'm like, no. Yeah. And then the labor of love part is like the guy. It's like the guy lies worse than the president of the United States, and that is something saying. Well, I mean, I don't know. The president probably lies worse than him, but the main creator, or the main guy behind No Man's Sky, was totally like, yeah, we're gonna have multiplayer, and it's really awesome. He has all these features, and I'm like, cool, awesome. I thought it was gonna be like an online multiplayer, massive multiplayer game, and it's like, I didn't really think that, but I thought, hey, there would have been multiplayer. Then it was like, no, well, I mean multiplayer is that you could go to the same planet as someone else. And we're like, the game industry is like, that's not multiplayer. And he's like, no, really, which is kind of sad because I guess they sort of do get the labor of paying for the game that they added. And Scott Manley actually did quite a few videos on this game, and it's like, he really seems to enjoy it. I think the game was fun for a while, but after, and some of the convenience features that were added later kind of makes the game a little bit funner, but it just, yeah, it was just kind of a complete waste, and, and I never, I should have returned it. I was kind of back when I started bought it. Path of Exile is actually, who makes this? I don't remember but they are actually the true labor of love. Like Quill 18 again plays. I really miss his sort of playthroughs of this game because I don't really find the game engaging. It's it's not. It's kind of like there's another Torchlight Frontier. Seems like a sort of the same type of game. But yeah, it's like nothing compared to Path of Exile this really probably would have been the labor. This is number 2 for sure for Labor of Love. They just, it's like Quill 18. Anyways, back to my story. Quill 18 was playing the game, or talking about the game, and he's like, yeah, the new DLC that they're coming out with the game for their, 3.2 update or whatever it was. They do leagues. Their new league. He's like, it's really expensive. I don't think people could afford it. And I was like, oh man, is Path of Exile, which I think is a free to play game in the first place, are they actually charging $20 for their expansion? And for a couple minutes, I was like, really, are they gonna, what is it gonna cost? I'm like, can I not play Path of Exile anymore? Even though I don't really. And it was like, oh, for the low price of $0 and 0 cents. But yeah, so they sell cosmetic, and two, they have microtransactions. But the microtransaction they do is like the best microtransactions, and still to this day, maybe at some point this will change, but they cosmetic only. Some of the convenience items like backpack storage, it seems like it should be more like you should get one back, the main storage to have the color and all the cool stuff to see how cool it is to play with it. Um, but yeah, I mean it's not as bad as Star Trek Online for like Star Trek Online I think is I don't remember how expensive. I think it's relatively cheap, but well, in this game, I guess this game sort of Path of Exile gets away from the Star Trek Online problem because it's per league, which is kind of why that's one of the reasons I don't really like this game as much. I think is because every 6 months, every 3 months, there's a new league, and then it's like you start over from scratch. So that means no inventory. That sort of negates the inventory problem. Where Star Trek Online, it's a persistent online. Currently, you're piling up inventory. I literally logged into Star Trek Online because there was a new update. Looked at my inventory, completely full. Because I don't have any bank updates. I bought a couple ships and a couple packages, but never included any inventory space, which I probably should have bought. And I looked at my inventory completely full. Looked at my bank, and all three tabs of my bank were completely full, and then immediately logged out of the game. I mean, that's how. I mean, but yeah, Path of Exile is a sort of like I think my main account, but they also have a lot of crafting items that are one slot. Because it's kind of a Diablo sort of esque, um, where Star Trek Online is like you has all the size are the same slot, but there's no stacking and there's crafting components, but they're not as good. Dota 2, amazing Dota 2 made it onto a Steam list of it's funny because I've been talking about the Dota 2 patch notes because people are like, oh, our game's kind of like Dota, or kind of like actually I think they compared it to Half-Life, and I was like, oh, have you seen the Dota 2 patch notes? Dota is like the UI is horrendous in Dota 2. That's the number one reason I don't play this game. They have like a point 5 fonts in their UI, which is kind of ironic because in StarCraft, the original StarCraft, the original StarCraft, I used to play the Defense of the Ancients, the original version of the modded version of StarCraft. Back in 1990 something, and that relied on the StarCraft UI, which is kind of much bigger UI. I mean, it takes up the whole bottom half of your screen, which is way too large. Anyways, the labor of love, we're getting kind of long in the tooth here, goes to Stardew Valley. This is actually, I've thought about kind of recently doing I sort of have a long, I've sort of got through most of the game, but then they added multiplayer. It's kind of sad to see Quill 18 and Briarstone and A Kiss for Luck. They had a 30 episode playthrough, but they ended it for Farming Simulator 19, which is another horrible experience. But anyway, Stardew Valley is actually a pretty fun. I actually just because of the 2D nature, a lot of people are talking. This became really popular at the time, and a lot of people are talking about it. And I was just like, the graphics are kind of crap. The interfaces are horrible. The UI is just all blah, which hasn't improved in any of the updates. But they recently added for a free DLC, I believe, a free patch for multiplayer, and it really improved the game. It wasn't like a multiplayer that added a ton of horror. It was actually a really fun game. They added really quality of life improvements and really awesome content to the game, even for the base game when the multiplayer came out. which added in multiple houses, and I'm not sure how that works in the single player. I haven't really explored that much, but anyway, so yeah, the Labor of Love. Went to Stardew Valley. I would love to that. I actually this is actually the only game I actually did pre-voting on to because they to get to this stage you had to do this is the only game I've pre-voted on for. I was trying to nominate the Equinox for a Labor of Love. I see now that they say the game has been out for a while, but to me it's like the early I think well, Coolinox wasn't in early access, but it was sort of on Patreon. But to me, it's like it still qualifies for a labor of love that this, Coolinox, and I'm hoping maybe next year, 2019, labor of love. But um, you know, but anyway, I was kind of thinking of what sort of I was kind of careful to say what he was talking about, but he added the camel in. He talked about adding in more species, hopefully a pause feature. He talked about it, but I'm not sure if he was talking about the slow mode feature versus a pause feature, which is not what I wanted. Anyways, Labor of Love would have been cool to have Equinox. I just wanted to mention that, but Stardew Valley win. VR Game of the Year. I was actually looking for a game that is it's a spy game. I'm not sure if that was 2017. Probably was, but I don't. In fact, I've told Steam, don't show me VR games. I don't care for VR games. Like I thought about voting in Skyrim, but then Bethesda became such a bad idea. Like actually, Skyrim was I think the last one I actually played. But the problem with Skyrim is like it's really so open ended. You can do anything, within reasons of the game, but it's just like there's nothing really. Super Hot is actually really cool. Uh, I've never actually put. It's not the type of game I would play, but I always thought my friend would really enjoy it. Anyways, Fallout 4, yeah, and it's just yeah. I don't even know about VR chat or any of this, but it's just VR. I just decided to skip the entire category. Game of the year. So maybe it's immersive gameplay or it's gripping story. It's well-crafted characters, immaculate design, or addictive multiplayer. Whatever the reason, the winner of 2018's Game of the Year award is an instant classic. One thing that was interesting was a lot of people are claiming Game of the Year, like, oh, this is, you know, um, Hamlet Game of the Year edition. And the only reason they are saying you could actually, Hamlet's my game, by the way, if you're wondering. I mean, anyways, the only reason you could say that Hamlet Game of the Year is if it actually was Game of the Year. I actually skipped this category for a while and then decided to come back to it and say, hey, if I'm going to do this, play out PUBG. Yeah, I guess this is PUBG. I don't even know. Yeah, it's PUBG. Player Unknown Battlegrounds. PUBG. I don't know. Anyways, yeah. This is actually, I was kind of interested to sort of decide which one would be people's choice for Game of the Year. PUBG is getting kind of long in the tooth. And I think Fortnite took it over, but this is the original sort of thing. Monster Hunter World is actually being acclaimed as critically successful. The problem for me with Monster Hunter World, I think it's a buy-to-play MMO, kind of like Guild Wars 2, but it's like 40, 50, 60 bucks. And then too, it also has microtransactions and all sorts of, I'm not sure if that's actually true, but yeah, so, but I think it's critically acclaimed. Okay, it's mixed. Oh yeah, I was thinking about looking at some of the mostly positive, very positive, very positive. Anyways, let's get back to Assassin's Creed Odyssey to sort of, hint, hint, hint. This one is actually, the Egypt one seemed cooler. This is the Greek one. I've seen sort of a couple people play this. It seems, stunning, appealing, but it's just violent and visceral, and the Roman gladiator games were probably quite brutal, and we really couldn't ascertain how brutal. American football is just as brutal, but moving on. Hitman 2! Yes, speaking of brutal games, another stunning visual, cool game. Um, I actually enjoyed the Hitman movie with Siler and Spock. I can't remember the guy's name, but yeah, it's like when he came out as Spock, the actor who plays he doesn't actually play the hitman, but he plays a supporting character. It's like crazy. Like I'm always thinking like when he came out as Spock, I should really look up that guy's name, but anyways, he came out as Spock, and it's like he was in Heroes, which is a TV show. He was a hero that, like a hero, there were people with special abilities, mutants, or I think I don't remember what they're just. Anyway, Siler could take other people's powers by eating them, or it wasn't really quite clear. But anyway, so Hitman the movie was actually pretty cool, but the game, it's not. Hitman the movie wasn't as violent. It was kind of hyper realistic, but it was kind of more about it, and it's about and Hitman is actually an interesting. It's about genetically engineered soldiers that are trained to um, do these amazing things. But the game is like meh. So without further ado, we've actually decided to go with Kingdom Come Deliverance. Not because I own the game. They do actually have a DLC, I believe, which I was like, oh, that would be really cool. Can I buy? Can I play that game? You actually get to own and buy a town in the game. Is the DLC is one thing I was reading it is, and it sounded cool. It's kind of a cool RPG aspect of it, but it's got. It kind of reminds me of The Witcher, where it's like it's these really awesome RPG aspects that my game sort of strives to be like. If I could sort of have this graphics, I don't like the foliage and the mess, which just kind of adds for gameplay. But when you add in like crafting and maybe it's if you have, it's actually an interesting concept. I just was thinking about like if you have the foliage there and you're not a herbalist, you would have to scrounge around and try to find the herbs. But if you're a herbalist, it would actually highlight the herbs that you could actually harvest, and that would actually be a really nice double bonus where it's like you could still harvest because the plants are there, but if you weren't a herbalist, you wouldn't be able to see them. And maybe have a but anyway, so Kingdom Come Deliverance, and then actually I was thinking about this actually might be a way to test some of this, is their reviews, but seems like a lot of reviews, like this very very positive, could just have been paid. I'm not saying the developer does this, but it's very tempting for developers. I guess would be the nonchalant way to say that it's very tempting because as soon as I put out my game, I had at least 20 or 30, which I would never do because it's just wrong. Like even when I got my first review was extremely negative, I was like, that's kind of the feedback I want to hear because I'm in early access. Anyway, so then so Kingdom Come Deliverance, so that could be an interesting way to test, like if the game of the year is going to be Odyssey because they're very positive. Hitman 2 seems a little bit old. I'm not sure if that's just the difference between. No, I think Hitman 2 is the newer game, but like these Kingdom Come, well, Monster World is kind of really new. But just noticing the mixed reviews. That to me is like 20, like maybe 25,000 or 20,000 were just like they bought the game and then they sort of for I think part of the problem for this game or these types of games. Sorry, I'm getting distracted here. But part of the problem is like you have to have constant content for people to consume and enjoy. With this scripted sandbox sort of. Sandbox is not a great word. It's sort of what I've been using recently, but it's like this theme park. That's the word should have been using. Theme park, where it's like there's sandbox is more open world, fun, exploit, kind of like Minecraft in some ways. But theme parks are where you like World of Warcraft is a theme park. That's the word I've been reusing a lot. But it's where the scripted sort of specialized. There's I guess you could come out with more mobs to fight, sort of like a. Anyways, yeah. So I just went with Kingdom Come Deliverance. This is getting kind of long in the last one. How are we at? Only 45 minutes. People want an hour videos. I'm just going to talk for an hour. And people are like, why are you just blabbing on for an hour? We want shorter videos. Anyways, I'm not sure. So let's just quickly go back through. Recap. So, most fun with machine, Factoria. We might see a Factoria playthrough. No spoilers. When they come out with their new 2.3, the Factoria is the problem with that is like the game is like it's like linear. Like you go through, beat the game, and you're done. Um, anyways, and then too, it's like really the other thing I'm really scared about is like I'm just like having fun with the game and doing crazy things, not caring and can't really be optimal or figure out the numbers. Anyways, most fun with machine, Factoria. Best alternative history, Hearts and Iron 4, hands down. It's just especially considering the original game is meant to be historical focus, but the new update, I think they added post launch, was a non historical, so Japan could actually not attack Pearl Harbor, which is actually honestly doesn't attack Pearl Harbor that often, anyways. But anyway, so Japan could, and then you could just do all sorts of crazy things like, having Russian and Germany actually be friends instead of backstabbing each other. Anyways, so actually a really great history game with alternative history as well. Um, yeah, not really history. Not this is not alternative. This is futuristic history. This is actually well, and it could be alternative history, but yeah, this is actually is Wolfenstein is actually an alternative. Like, what happens if the Nazis had gotten better with friends? Overcooked. Watching Briarstone and Quill 18 really just pushed this game over for me. That it's just really awesome and cool. And anyways, best environment, Subnautica. Even though I just purchased it, I've seen actually a couple of people play this and have fun, and it's just most original environment as well. I'm not sure if that's part of the criteria, but just having an underwater sea environment, it's just these scenes look really sharp and crisp, crystal clear, and versus like can we look at we can look at Odyssey up here. The best developer, Paradox, with the caveat that it's not anything on Paradox's part for the YouTubers and the press to sort of do these sort of things, but they really sort of, as a developer, as the forerunner of all this content, they really need to sort of come up with some guidelines, maybe themselves, or sort of industry standards where that like Quill 18 actually does a sponsored content, which is cool. He puts up his little icon, but then he puts dollar signs over his icons, and he actually does say, he doesn't do reviews, and he also says, hey, well, this is meant to be entertaining. Which I think that's sort of another thing on YouTube is also it's like the combination of YouTube is like people people are trying to actually be funny or entertaining or trying to make money, um, and and they're also paid or to me, and that's sort of to me, I'm sort of hardcore. If anybody does anything, gives you a key, which is to me that's one of the things I will put out there, like, hey, I probably will give away keys at some point to my game, but very limit. It might be limited, just because it's like. But yeah. So, anyways, Paradox, really awesome studio. Not going down the microtransactions, DLC-ish, I would say. But hey, it's sort of like one of the caveats there is like if you really enjoy a game, the more content you can put out there is great. But then it also becomes a problem like, do I really need to buy Megacorps? I'm not really that exciting for Evil Empires, and honestly, it doesn't really seem like there's quite a few, like Quill 18 is actually doing a playthrough right now where he is ideological in people, so they're now joining his sort of as a subsidiary, but now he can't open a corporate office in their headquarters, so it kind of makes it kind of pointless. If you could actually take over someone and then add a corporate office, I think it would just be a nice benefit and make the corporations better. Anyways, Labor of Love. I really wish Equinox could have won, but Stardew Valley. Um, I'm not sure. And it's actually one of the interesting things too. Um, there was another. Let's see. Kenshi actually, I was really excited for Kenshi, and then the developers are like, "Hey, we're only doing it's sort of we're going into maintenance mode." It was kind of what they call, we're not putting out any engine changes or anything. It's like they're only doing luxury and quality of life, and that to me is like, I mean, this Stardew Valley actually came out with multiplayer. Now he's got a new project in the works, which is in the same vein as Stardew Valley, in the same in what's the word? The same world. So that should be really cool. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm really going to keep my eye on that and maybe pick it up just because of how awesome. We might see a Stardew Valley, but I'm not sure what the content would be. It seems like a whole lot of boring gameplay, and there needs to be a few quality of life improvements, especially in the pots where it's like you have to manage the pots individually. I wish the extra buildings that you can buy were like the greenhouse. Anyways, labor of love. I really wish I could have done Equinox, but Stardew Valley, and I think that's down to the game of the VR skipped. Hate. It's not that I don't like VR. I'm partially concerned about my eyesight and whether or not it work. And I'm a huge fan of AR, augmented reality, like playing Minecraft and augmented reality. AR, that's why they shorten these things, I think, would be really cool. And they didn't include that spy game, which I've seen quite a few people play, and it seems kind of fun. But, anyways, maybe everybody else has a different take on it. And maybe if I had a headset or something, it's kind of like a more expensive version of a console, honestly. Game of the year. So I don't really see any games that I would really classify as my game of the year, but Kingdom Come Deliverance, just because it's kind of like one of those games I really thought would be really fun. It's sort of like a really awesome fantasy RPG. Maybe I'll pick it up. It's actually on sale, but it's down to $40. So it's like $40 plus that plus the DLC. Anyway, so that's the Steam 2018 voting still on. You could have till January 3rd. And wow, they're not going to be announced till early February 2019. That is just ridiculous. If you can't do a digital voting, it's like, it's like, why can't we vote, more political discussions. I think it was like someone was like, you should comment more on tangents. And I'm like, you really want me to do that? I'm not sure what you're asking for here. I'm like, I could talk about evolution creation. They're like, no, let's not do that. But anyways, it's like so anyway, it's like, to me, it's like we have a digital age now where, like my Steam profile, and we need a sort of a digital ID that's really ironclad, that sort of holds you to these things. I think that would solve a lot of internet problems. Anyways, but here it's like everything is digital. We're not submitting votes. It's not being mailed in. So it's like, why does it take 2 months to come out with a, announced? It's like you could easily do that on January 15th. It does take a couple weeks. You do want to get everything right. You know, like the president's going on vacation for 16 days, and here I'm still working for 2 more. I work 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And that's why it's enjoyable playing games. Anyway, so, yeah, if you want to vote and you want to wait till February, honestly, probably will be like, oh, who cares? Oh, yay. The Monster Hunter World with this mixed reviews won. Honestly, that's probably like, maybe I'll call it now. Maybe we'll try to go back to this in February, but it's like, it's sort of like these games of the year seem like, oh my god, this game, like Odyssey's probably will win, because it's the most recent, most memorable game is what wins. Like Stardew Valley has no chance of winning. This is such an old game. And Path of Exile might be older, but it's like constantly in people's, especially with their new Betrayal League and Immortals and all, some of the. Anyway, so that's the. We're at to an hour. Oh no, I need 6 more minutes of content, people. Oh well. Anyways, my name's Micaiah Stevens. For the YouTube channel, Micaiah Stevens, I'm actually known as McCaven. Steam has registered that McCaven has voted for the content we just went through. Is there a way to see? Oh no, I don't have. I'd have to open up Steve. Anyways, thank you very much for this wonderful improving of the channel. Hopefully, you'll like some of some of the new content that's coming out. Yeah, so maybe I'll cut it short here because it's just hoping to focus on this. I do want to do a channel update, sort of. I talked about a lot of the games that I would enjoy. Some Stellaris, not an announcement of any sorts, but Stellaris. What did we talked about? Stellaris and Factoria are a couple options on the list. We talked about Kenshi. Is there anything else? We talked about some Don't Starve. Well, could, but some Subnautica maybe. We'll have to see how it goes. And we talked about some blah, 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 blah. Oxygen not included. Anyways, I'm Micaiah Stevens for McCaven, or as McCaven, for the Steam 2018 Community Voting Awards. Yay! Which you can still vote for. So don't take my, come up with your own suggestions. Do you like the bloody, visceral, amazing combat in some of these games? Go for it. More power to you. Thank you very much. You take care, and I'll see you on the next video. Which, I don't know, might be somewhat delayed in the video content and especially in the number. I'm not doing a major series right now, but I have some ideas, so we'll figure it out. You take care. You want to say any last words? People are really excited for cats, and yeah, I don't know what she's. Anyways, we'll figure out what she wants. You take care. That's my cat, by the way. If you can't hear her, I'm not sure. Anyways, take care.